we share?
I
have the control. Yep.
Oh, you have it? Okay, great. How about I'll stop sharing, and then do you want to share your screen? Would that help?
Yep, that helps.
Okay, so I'll stop. There you go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Annie. And today we are going to see about how we are helping Canadian explosive sites stay safe and also secured for the Canadians and all of us here. So today's agenda, we will be meeting the team, and the team will be answering the following questions: who, what, why, how, and how, why and how. So that, and also we'll have a Q&A section. So by the end of this presentation, the goal is to have an idea about the project and what the team is actually doing to support it. So, yep, and here are the collaborators. I'm Annie, the product manager, answering the question, what's in the project? I'll hand it over to Alex.
I'm Alex. I'm the developer for the project, and hand it over to Osama.
Osama. I am the UX designer for the project.
Thank you. So now we'll see, starting with the first question, who we worked with. Yeah, these are our government partners at lands and minerals sector in our Natural Resources Canada. So as you can see, it was Ronaldo, Antrian, and Kelp. And who were the real users or the actual users were the inspectors and inspector managers for the explosives regulatory and business services branch. And what they do is inspect the explosive sites or explosive storage sites, or they also inspect the import and export of explosives so that they can administer the Canada's Explosives Act. So it's all about keeping the explosive sites safe and secure, and for security concerns as well. So, and they're doing a pretty important job, let's say. So now that we know who will be using this, what was the actual challenge that was presented to the team? So every year, to conduct the inspection, every year the inspectors and inspector managers they have to go to the inspection site in itself to inspect that. So they go on trips. So every year at the beginning of the fiscal year, they do create a trip plan for the entire fiscal year. And how do they do that? Using an Excel sheet. So even today, till today, they're using an Excel sheet, and we all know how an Excel sheet and Excel sheet formulas could be when there are more than 40 hands in the pot. 40 people are using a single sheet, and it often breaks. And again, it's very manual and very time consuming. It's very rigid. And on top of all this, there was this added layer of complexity. That is, all the data was protected B. So a quick question to the members here. Does anyone know what protected B is? What is protected B information? Answers could be given in the chat. No Google search, please. No. Don't do that. I know everyone is typing. Did we get any answers? Can Usama or Alex, can you see if we get any answers, because I'm having this in the screen and it's protected info, endangered.
I can read some of them out loud. Someone wrote,
yes, please.
Protected information of the users would be protected B. That seems like the most valid answer.
Okay. Yeah, that's almost right. But the real Okay, let me give the detailed one is that it can cause serious injury if the data is protected B. That means if the data leaks, it can cause serious injury to the person or the government or the organization which the data is. So you can see some of the, even in your email, some of the mail would have that protected B. This is protected B, especially with your health or with your insurance or some sort of that. Like start noticing that protected B word in your mails that you get from the government or some medical bills or anything. Yep. Protected B, introducing a new term. Then let's go. Oh no, it's not working. Okay. So what was the solution? So we wanted to create a solution that addresses all these problems. So, and the best solution was to use a Microsoft Dynamics platform. So again, the Dynamics platform was not something that Code for Canada or the team came up with. It was given to us. They wanted it in the Dynamics platform. As you can see, the protected B factor comes in. So any other platform, we have to, that will be more complex. So Dynamics was offered to us. They did not want any other solution. But we could use dynamic solution and design our website, design the website in that. So, and fun fact, in this web app, the RBIP web app would be NRCan's first cloud-hosted protected B application. So yeah, we were the guinea pigs in there. And the user insights and the solution that was required derived our project goals. And the project goal, as you already can understand, it was a web app. And also another important thing that they wanted was to run analytics or create reports, which was humongous and a monster in itself within the Excel. So they wanted an easy solution to create these reports every year, every fiscal year, and an on-demand basis, and also have some dashboards of canned reports. So, and we did that using Power BI. So that was a project goal. And why it matters. Okay, now we have the problem. Now we have the solution. So the question is, does it really matter how important it is to solve this problem at hand? So let's see numbers here. So 100%, more than 40, like let's say 40 to 50 inspectors. And also, so when we speak about inspectors, also the stakeholders for the inspectors, that is people who own the license site or the explosives or the explosive sites, those people were also affected, but indirectly. So 100% of active users of this Excel sheet or this application will be affected by this, and 12,000 hours per year, per fiscal year is wasted in manpower. And that when you convert this 12,000 hours, it's close to 650, if not more. Let's say close to $1 million that's being wasted just by doing admin work, which could all be used for inspection, conducting inspections and keeping the Canadians safe. So that's the worth of this project. And I'm handing it over to Osama to answer the next question, how we approached this.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'll talk about how we approached our solution to this problem. So we began with using the double diamond process, which really allows us to discover what the problem is, define, develop, and deliver. We're here. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so in the discover phase, what we really wanted to do is learn about who the users were, essentially. We quickly learned that there were two main teams within the NRCan, the L&I side, the license inspection, and the RC, the restricted components. And we really learned about the cool stuff that they're doing, like the explosives that they are inspecting. For the L&I side, they're going like places, middle of nowhere, like mining sites, and inspecting the explosives over there. They're doing a lot of driving, a lot of commuting to inspect and come back and doing the desk work. As for the RC side, they're really inspecting the local areas, like places that store chemicals that could potentially be used to be making bombs. And that's something we really don't want in Canada, because that's bad. And they're really doing their job in protecting us and inspecting those that could potentially do that and alerting them. But also within discover phase, we sent out baseline surveys to gather a lot of quantitative data. We had a lot of interviews, workshops with the users to gather qualitative data and really understand what their current process is, where their pain points are. And we really learned they are not a fan of Excel sheets. Personally, I don't like Excel sheets either. I avoid all that. And them having to use it for the past, like, I don't know how many years is heartbreaking at the same time. We move on to defining what the statements are. What we learned from the discovery phase, we formed user stories and need statements, created user flow and journey maps to understand, where they are being frustrated in their processes. We did card sorting to formulate information architecture, and we really wanted to deep dive and figure out what we really need to work on for the MVP. We learned that they want to create inspection trips, modify those trips, have a map feature to quickly identify different sites in their own trips, create reporting such as dashboards, and having the ability to upload their inspection results onto the app and be able to track different corrective actions as well too. On the develop side,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no worries. So it's on the develop side. Awesome. On the develop side, with each feature, we would develop wireframes and prototypes from low, mid to high fidelity. And we would constantly bring in the inspectors and inspector managers and gain as much feedback as we could from them, so we could continuously iterate and improve the application for them. And this is where the constant discovery really took place. We learned that the inspectors are very particular about not a few things, but many things. They want specific things that are in the Excel sheet onto the application itself. For example, one of the features that were being developed was inspection results. And they wanted a tracker to track their minors, majors, and criticals for the corrective actions. By the way, corrective actions are actions that need to be taking place for the sites that need to work, the sites that need to be worked on their actions. Like if something's bad is going on, they'll give like a minor, major, critical on that. And that's something that they really want, just have an eagle eye view of what those corrective actions were. And just an example, with each feature, we created prototypes. We stopped, validated, built, test, and iterated with all of the users. And some of the UX tools that we used was Maze and Optimal Workshop to conduct card sorting activities with their users, Google Forms to send out surveys for quantitative research, Miro, having a lot of fun workshop activities with our users, and they really enjoyed that, which is awesome. And with Miro, we'll also be able to form, do affinity mapping, form user flow and journey flows, and as well as a great tool for our team to get together and just throw ideas on. Figma, our favorite design tool, and MS Teams are our main form of communication with our partner and users here. And on the deliver side, once we actually deliver the feature onto the web app, we would continuously test with the users, be like, hey, where are some points that we could identify as frustration points, and how can we improve from here too? So there were some challenges on the UX side and opportunities that arose from those. For me personally, I never worked with Microsoft Power Apps, and the UX and UI for the Power Apps is a very particular design system, which we don't have much control over. And when I first started the project, I was like making designs that were like, a great user experience, but also custom designs too. And I quickly learned from Alex that, hey, this can't work here. This is Power Apps. We're locked in. But that also came up with an opportunity to work together with the team here to really form designs that could, one, provide a good user experience, and two, that could actually work with Power Apps itself. And the next challenge and opportunity that arose was that, we really learned that not every user is tech savvy. The challenge was that how can we design an application for those that are not tech savvy that they can actually use? And what we did was created a bit of an intuitive application that from our testing, we learned that our users, they had difficulty doing it a future task for the first time, but they really mentioned it's like, this is really intuitive, really easy. I can recall my steps and do it again later on. So that's a big win for us, I think, there, for those that are not tech savvy. And in comparison to Excel, if they do those same steps in Excel, they can't do it again later on. They'll be like, oh, shoot, I broke the system again. What do I do? But with the RBIP, the application, they mentioned that I did it once, I could do it again, which is a huge win. And I'll pass it on to Alex to talk about the tech and the fun stuff.
Yes, the very thrilling stuff of the actual software development. Yeah, so for the project, as previously mentioned, we used Microsoft Dynamics Power Apps. This was primarily just given to us as the solution to go with. And right off the bat, we were given this also the solution of using field service, which I'll go into in a little bit. But Power Apps essentially is a quick way for doing development using a low code platform, and then to also adhere to the security standards that are going to need to be required later on in development. And on top of that, it's a simple way to be able to pass off any future long-term support to development teams so that they could just quickly go into the actual application, figure out what's wrong, and then make the adjustments that are required for it. So it's a very simple way to kind of go about development. Go back there, Annie. For actual development with Power Apps, you're given a set of environments then. So you have your basic development environment, which you do all your development with inside of there, which then gets moved on to the Q&A, in which CIOSB, our Enercan development partners, then would have a QA tester come in and be able to validate what's been developed. On top of that, then you have your staging environment and then your production setting as well on top of there. So that's the next part to all of this with Protected B going on to the cloud. Azure is still in the midst of being able to get actually validated to go on to for used for cloud development. And so this has been really the ongoing effort for our side of things to be able to ensure that we have proper safety and security, the proper security measures set in place for when it actually does go to production then. So we've been working very closely with the security team to be able to ensure that the needs are met on that side of things. But actually getting onto like the development challenges itself was, I'm actually a .NET web developer as my background. So coming into this project, it was certainly an interesting start, being met with Power Apps, because I've never actually used it and used low code platforms before. So it was a bit of a learning curve for me coming from my ideas or thoughts of how development should work versus how Power Apps gives it. On top of that, we were given the Power Apps field service license, which is a tiered licensing system that Microsoft vendors will sell to government employees or government teams to, of course, they're going to want to try to sell on the higher tier stuff. I had no idea what field services was, but it was being thrown around constantly at the very beginning. And so I had to do quite a bit of investigating in on it, and which I found out that it doesn't allow for much customization, which is a huge no-no in my opinion, because what the Enercan team, the explosives team is looking for is something very fine-tuned to their needs. And with field services, we would have been working backwards the entire time, trying to rip out different functionality and ensure that they have the proper course of action being able to be taken when they actually comes down to their workflow. So we met in the middle then, essentially. I said, let's not go with a field services route, but I know that we cannot go with a custom application due to the fact that there's security concerns that need to be met, especially with it first time Protected B being on the cloud. So we came down to the conclusion of building a bare bones Power Apps application using Power Apps' own database system, Microsoft Dataverse, to build out a set of custom tables, then as well as a set of pages that go along with it. Each table has its own page that corresponds with it. So they're very tightly coupled. So I had to work very closely with Osama to be able to kind of get the right system for development for the UX side of things, so that we had to ensure proper workflow, but also kind of let them know on the side of things of this is what we're actually only capable of. Throughout development, of course, we found out that explosives inspectors are also very fickle. And so anytime we would develop something, we would say, here it is. And then they would come back at us and say, well, where's X, Y, and Z? Of course, X, Y, and Z was never mentioned at any points during the time of discovery. And then as well as any of the validations for the UX UI design work. only up until the very last minute. So we would often have to come back, make decisions of like, okay, this is what's actually required. This is what we're going to have to leave for later on in development. And we need to move forward from here. So it provided some fairly entertaining development throughout the project.
All right, I'll jump back into speaking about the outcome. So with the outcome, we developed an MVP for the NRCan team. This included the things that I mentioned earlier, being able to create new trips, modify trips, having a beautiful dashboard for reporting purposes, and as well as having a map functionality for inspectors to quickly identify different sites and uploading their inspection results. And with this MVP, we were able to test out these features in 3 different ways. A completion rate of task, which was 0 to 5 scale. From 0, it was completed. These tasks were completed with ease and without frustration. It was overall 0.3 between the 5 users that we tested with, which is pretty good. Awesome. Like they were completed with ease and without frustration. Like I said, and how easy was this feature in the app? 1 to 5, where 1 is being difficult, 5 is very easy. A 4.4, which is they've really found it really intuitive and easy at the same time. And finally, would they actually use these MVP features in their everyday jobs? 1 not being not at all, and 5 being everyday. And from the testing, we had a scale of 4.6 on that, which is really awesome. It really identifies that they will be using these features for their for the jobs, especially in the MVP. And with that, we got some totally awesome user insights from the application. They found that this application is definitely the ideal solution. It is promising, easy to learn. And one more thing that they mentioned was like the filtering is great. The filtering really is a powerful tool for them to use on their inspection planning here. But definitely each project has their speed bumps. The first one was that after investigating a significant amount of time, as Alex mentioned, we had to shift from field services to Power Apps in here. And then the second point is that there were brief instances on different occasions where there was no UX designer as well as a product manager available for the project. And finally, another challenge was that was working with a team of people that had a difficult understanding of the product trio team structure, as well as the agile product delivery approach in here. You might ask, like, what does this project mean to Canadians? Essentially, inspection planning takes a lot of time. More time in planning means less time inspecting and more desk work for them. We created we want to create a more efficient system that will lead to more explosive sites being inspected, inspections being completed to ensure the public safety and security in Canada. And throughout the project, we learned a lot of key lessons here. The importance of stakeholder engagement, the value of agile project management, the benefits of cross-functional collaboration, and the value of effective communication. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to our demo for the NRCan team. And if you have any questions, please feel free.
Cool. Thanks, Annie, Osama, and Alex. That was great. What a great story, especially the pivot from field services to Power Apps. Any questions for the team?
I'll ask one. Nothing big, but just, yeah, thanks for the presentation. It was good. Your project, awesome, I think. I just wondered if the GitHub repository, is it public? Like, is it open source? I think that question goes to Alex.
No, it's not open source.
Okay.
Yeah, any of like the project files really adhere to just in Power Apps, you'll come across like forms and pages. So it's only ever really pointed towards those forms and pages themselves. So there wasn't really any point in trying to make something like that public due to the fact that it was just dealing with event handlers mostly.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Thanks. Like TBS and a lot of departments, they have open source repositories. So I wondered if this was one of them, but yeah, it makes sense.
There's a ton of actually open source repositories in which other teams across different sectors have created. Like in terms of having like the regulations. They often require regulations be built into the applications. There's a team that developed a whole system to import all of your regulations into like a table structure and create like a whole view system inside there that I was given access to at one point.
Okay, thanks.
One question I had was, because it seems like field services is something that's on top of Power Apps. What was what was the biggest consideration for whether to include that or not? Like, I guess, what are the positives versus the draw?
Field services provides a lot of functionality that just comes right out of the box. So like think of field services in terms of like for Rogers technicians, for instance, to be able to like know where like their fleet of trucks are for the day and whatnot, or what work items that they have for different clients, like going out to houses, like setting up like cable and whatnot. It provides a lot of detail inside those circumstances. But where the issue kind of starts to really fall into place is that you're working with field services rather than field services kind of working with you. So like if you're in a smaller team, such as the explosives team, which it's about like 40 people, like it's not a huge team necessarily. You start to fall into some issues where they want very customized workflows for how they work essentially. And so you're trying to take out different parts and pieces from field services that it gives you, because it throws everything at you all at once. So it can be really overwhelming. And some of these people aren't really tech savvy. And I myself was quite overwhelmed at one point just looking at everything. So that's where red flags really started to fly for me personally.
Okay, I appreciate it. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm the only one with my hand up, so I'm just gonna go. Okay, this question is for each member of the team. If you had a time machine and could go back and talk to day one, Annie, Alex, and Usama, what advice would you give your past selves? Maybe stick to one thing.
I can go first. So if I could go to day one, I would have been I'd be more clear on what apps the project in itself would use. The project management aspect. Example, Jira and Azure DevOps, we had that issue and we are handling that now. Not an effective solution, but we are handling it. Day one, I would have been more clear about that. And instead of assuming, more clear about that. And also more clear about the roles the product trio plays in the project. And how each member brings value to the project. And that's my 2 cents.
I'll go next. For me personally, it's like I mentioned before, that it's my first time that I ever used Power Apps. So I didn't really have actually a whole big understanding of like what was actually all involved inside of it. It was a process that throughout development, I was picking up different things that you could do with it. Primarily, it would be the tools that you could actually use. Unfortunately, with Microsoft, their documentation is not optimal at times, and so which has led to people coming up with third-party solutions as to how to fix some of the problems that happen to have like that live within Power Apps itself. So I would have made an entire list of things of like tools that you need to kind of be aware of for development and how it could actually speed things up for you later on inside of things. I actually have made a document at one point and just wrote everything down, gave links to all the different tools and said, this is what will help you with this. And so that future people that could come across it, they could pick up on it a lot quicker, essentially.
As for me, kind of similar to Annie's point, but asking for more tools that are similar to what the Intercan side are already using. For example, like tracking tools like being able to know like where the users are actually clicking on the actual development side of it though, to really figure out the heat maps, click maps on those. Right now, I tried proposing one time a tool. It kind of got shut down. But I would love to, like at the start, I would love to know is like, are you using something similar that could be used for later on? Yeah, I tried proposing Microsoft Clarity.
Oh,
Yeah,
and even though it was in the Microsoft universe, they shut it down, huh?
Yeah, it was like
Interesting.
figuring out like they really want to really, because of the protected BE, the cloud. It's like they want to know where this information is going and where it's being tracked and who's using it, who's seeing it, all that good stuff. So
That's awesome. Those are all really, really great answers. Oh, Annie, I feel like you said something hilarious, but you were on mute.
Oh, no, also the inspectors were like, why are you tracking us? Why are you tracking our every move? So they didn't know, no, don't do that. So yeah.
Oh God. What I heard in across those answers is that each of you developed or have honed questions that maybe a combination of partnerships and partner success could ask our partners before a project kicks off to help like smooth things around like tech stack, roles and responsibilities and governance, and then opportunity to bring in or decision-making process to bring in new tools, which is awesome. And then Alex, it sounds like you might have written a thing that future Alex and maybe other future developers at C4C who had to interact with Power Apps might benefit from. So kudos to all of you and thank you for sharing. And yeah, I'll leave it up to Tamara and or maybe someone on partnerships to maybe pick your brains further on that stuff.
Cool. Thanks, team. That was lovely. It was a great presentation. Okay, to wrap us up, we only have 5 minutes left. I'm going to kick it back to the master slide deck, and I think this is Tamara. You're sharing the tip of the month for us.
Yeah, and Dorothy, if you want, I don't know if there's questions in the channel.
Yeah,
to ask them before, and then if we have time, we can go over this.
Yep, that sounds good. I'll repost the Slido in the chat, so feel free to post your questions there if anything comes to mind. But go ahead, Tamara.
Okay, so some quick tips and tricks. You can create sections to sort the channels and to find channels easily in Slack by right-clicking on the navigation and creating a section. You can use emojis to find your channels easily, and because sometimes the naming convention might be confusing if a lot of channels have the same names. So that's one thing that I find really helpful. Another thing, if you can use your own channel to write notes or save things for later, quick links that you want easily. The next one, and this feature I use a lot, and I think it's so important, which is you can right-click on any message on the 3 dots, and then use the remind me about this later feature. That way you'll receive a Slack bot notification to, for example, here, answer the poll that Danielle shared on the channel. And then that one's also super useful. Bookmark important links, maybe project charters in the Slack channel, so you can find them easily, and so that everyone in the team can find these resources easily. And the last one, which I personally don't use, but I just discovered, and I think I will start using it, which is starting your Slack messages with these color emojis to indicate urgency of the message. This will help other people that you're sending your messages to know if they need to take action immediately, immediately, or this is something they can come back to later. So red is for urgent, blue is for information, so just as info, and then white is also not urgent, is when you need feedback about something. And that's it.
Cool. That's great. This one's really good. This urgency color idea. All right. Thanks, Tamara. As a reminder, in the slide deck, we load up some helpful employee resources, links to the drive, links to deck templates and stuff like that. And I'll just pull up the Slido right now. This is, again, a link to the Q&A. So it looks like there's two questions that have popped up. One about referral process for job postings. Danielle, do you want to speak to?
So what we've done in the past and what we have been doing is just telling the referrals to apply to the role, and then you as the C4C employee just reach out to Melissa and I, and we flag it to ensure that, not that we don't review it, but we review it extra, that type of thing, because it's a referral. As for the engagement percentages and explicit survey results, there's a full deck with the full explanation of it in the employee file, which is also linked on the guide. You can do it. Engagement percentages are calculated. Okay, sorry, you got the third one there, threw me off there. So the full research, full information, it's there. It's based on that scale that you answer, like extremely satisfied, not satisfied, whatever. And that's how they calculate it. None of the calculations are done by us. It is fully done by 15.5. As for the transparency policy, I'm hoping that there's last few employees who have not responded. I please ask that you again take the time to do that. This is your opportunity to hear your voice. Yes, the no's are leading, which means that from it we've had some comments. So not only take the poll, take the time for your comments. We're going to leave it open until the end of Friday. Then I will be downloading a full amount of the full raw data and posting in the Slack channel for everyone to pull up and review. That being said, too, with it did what we realized is that the levels aren't as clear as we thought. So what we're going to do is make it more clear on the offers and onboarding, as well as through the the define your success, kind of what levels each person's in, and go from there. So that was kind of one of the pieces that we realized, is that the transparency of where everyone falls within it might not be as clear. We will also update the handbook with understanding, but essentially all collaborators, if your skill set will be L5, Dorothy, correct me if I'm wrong, L5, had a panic moment there, folks, sorry. L5, and it's all in there. So where can I find an organizational chart?
I can quickly cover that one. We had that in the last town hall. I'm realizing for this one, we didn't include it because it was, we had a bunch of other updates, but maybe what we can do in town halls going forward is we'll have an appendix in the slide deck of just putting up the latest org chart so everybody can refer there. All right, we are 1 minute over. Not too bad given the packed agenda. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to the NRCam team. Great work, and thanks for telling your story. Okay, thanks everyone. Take care. Have a good week, a good month.
Thank
you. The next time.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah, thanks all. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Everyone.